How to create a family or group bank, even using WhatsApp. David Roots TV.
Fire, 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 fire.
Greetings to the family, greetings to one and all, anyone who has taken the time to listen and tune in to another video on David Roots TV. A really important one, and hopefully one that is very, very useful for the family out there, in particular those who are trying to build wealth. We do a lot around the topic of building wealth, so much so that we've put out a book that we're going to talk about in a little bit on building wealth, called the Wealth Building Cycle, the 5 simple steps to building wealth. And it's poignant that we are doing this video today at the time of making this video. It's December 29th, which is the, what's that, 4th day of Kwanzaa. So Kwanzaa starts on the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, that's right. And today's particular practice or principle in the Ungozo Saba is called Ujama or Ujama, which actually relates to the term and topic of cooperative economics. Okay, so cooperative economics is kind of poignant that I actually decided, I didn't plan it this way, to do this video on how to create a family or group bank even using WhatsApp on today, because it links with that idea of cooperative. It's not even links, it is directly related to that idea of cooperative economics. Just reading off of a site about Kwanzaa, Ujama, cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. Very important in regards to people of African descent, all people, all people of different nations, but in particular to people of African descent, because we are behind. The statistics will show you. Anyone that wants to know, well, why are you doing this video? Couldn't anyone use it? Of course. But for people of African descent, aka black people, in particular in the Western Hemisphere, okay, in Europe and the United States, etc., we are behind other groups. Okay, and I'll leave you to figure that one out for yourself. So let's get on how to create a family or group bank, even using WhatsApp. So I spoke early on about my book, The Wealth Building Cycle, What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20, the 5 steps you can take to build wealth in your life now. If you don't have it, you can use the links below in the description. You can get it on Amazon. I think I also have PDF copies available for instant downloads, which you can find on my website. Just check the links below. But in that book, I talk about the wealth building cycle and the 5 steps to building wealth. And as you can see on the matrix there, that is a model or a visualization of the wealth building cycle. And there's 5 steps. And it starts with step number 1, which is education, which feeds into step 2, which is earn. Step 3, which is save. Step 4, which is invest. And step 5, which is entrepreneurship. So this video isn't about the wealth building cycle. If you want to learn more, you can go and get the book, or you can check out my other videos. I have plenty of videos specifically on that topic. But we are going to focus on the part that's circled, the save, step number 3, okay, of the wealth building cycle. And in this book, you can see I already talk about things like a family bank and a group saving plan. So this isn't any sort of copy off of anyone else's video, or there are other videos that are talking about these concepts. This is straight from information from my book, and we're going to expand on it. So in that book of the wealth building cycle, I start off in chapter 5 talking about saving strategies for those on a low income, okay, i.e. group savings plans and family banks. And I have a little chapter here which I've not copied, I've screenshotted from the book. And rather than going into it, I'll just leave it on the screen. You can read it yourself. You can pause the video and read it yourself. But basically, I talk about the fact that if you're on a low income, it might seem that saving, which is very, very important to the wealth building cycle, the 5 steps. So that's the third step in the cycle. Saving is extremely important. But if you're on a low income, it might feel like you're not able to save. So here is where group saving plans and the ideas of family banks can be very, very helpful. So what's a group saving plan? A group savings plan, from the second paragraph, is one in which a group of people pool their money together on a regular basis over a set time period. For example, every month for a year, and one member of the group each month gets the whole collective pooled funds dispersed to them, with each month a different member being selected. And I have a little chart in the book which kind of outlines this more graphically for people to understand. So anyone hearing that, if they know, how these things work, immediately 2 terms will come to mind. The term susu, which is the generic African term for what we're talking about, and the word partner, which is used in the Caribbean as well as parts of the US in terms of these sort of group savings plans. They are not pyramid schemes, okay, because you're not getting more back than what you put in, okay, but we're going to look at ways you can do that. But what they are group savings plans for those people that either have low income and have a hard time saving, so they can get their savings, right up front, or for people who need that extra bit of discipline that might being in the group, that might come from being in a group with others who are committed. So the family bank is in the second section. A family bank is a similar concept, but one that involves the members of the family. Okay, so in other words, to shorten it, a family bank could be something where you do that same thing. Everyone puts their money into a group fund, and then instead of going to the bank to get money from the bank and pay interest and things like that, you actually just borrow from your own family bank, and thereby you pay interest back to your own family members who might have loaned you that money. Okay, and in this way, the money stays within the family. Okay, and that leads to building wealth, because building wealth is all about retention of funds, retention of that currency, that energy into and not going away from you. Okay, so that the wealth building cycle is all about building your own wealth or building your own family's wealth. So that's the basis behind the 2 ideas that we're talking about, the group savings plan and the family banks. And if you want to learn more, as I said, please go and get that book, The Wealth Building Cycle, which gives more practical details. As you can see, it will give practical details on not just that step of the savings, but also on the other steps as well. So when we talk about this group savings plan, aka SUSU, I put up at the top right hand of the screen, aka partner, those are just other names for it. Here's a little chart. So you can see on the left of the chart, I have 12 months. It could be done for a shorter time period or longer. Okay, so I have 12 months on the left of the chart. And along the top row of the chart, I have 12 people. So for each month, there's a different person. And each month, each person pays in this case, $100. Okay, that means in month 1, the group of 12 people would have paid in $1,200. And one person, that could be person 1, will get that full $1,200. And this cycle is repeated each month, but different people. So the next month, person 2 will get the $1,200. Next month, person 3 will get the $1,200, and so on and so on. And that's how a susu works. Okay, so this is without any interest or anything like that. You just get what you put in. If you're first, you get your money first, and if you're last, you get your money last. Yes, the question's always asked, why can't you just do this on your own? You can, but some people benefit from working in a group where they can have others around them to encourage them, or where they have to be committed, or you might need your money all at once up front to do something. Okay, but you still have to put your money in each month. And there is that danger, of course, that if someone defaults on their payment, then the whole thing will tumble, okay, or will not be able to be sustained. So it has to involve people that are committed and people that you trust. Okay, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So that's the skeleton of how the group savings plans work. But how can we really make this idea more powerful? That's the whole basis of this video. What can we do to make it more powerful so that it becomes a group bank, or / family bank? So here I have random people, but yes, you could do this with your family members, 12 family members. So in order to make this more powerful, let's look at what we could do. Now, for me, in order to push the concept of the group savings bank, or the family bank, a minimum contribution from each participant would be like $1,000 or £1,000, depending where you are. Yeah, I think $1,000 is where people need to start in order to really make it powerful. So if we look at the chart that I have, you can see a similar concept. So in this case, we're going to have 12 people, and each month, each person will put in $1,000. Okay, $1,000. So that means each month you would have collected $12,000. You would have collected $12,000 each month. Okay, so with the susu, that means each person each month would be able to collect on their $12,000. Not each person, but on a rotational basis. So person 1 gets $12,000 the first month, person 2 gets $12,000 the second month, and so on and so on. Okay, now to make this more powerful, I've proposed 3 different methods down below in yellow. So method 1, instead of now taking that $12,000 out, okay, you keep it in an account, which I'm going to talk about after this. You keep that $12,000 in the account with the remaining $12,000 that's going to come every month, and you use that as collateral for your family bank. Okay, you use that as collateral for your family bank. So that means by the end of this first year, you should have $144,000 in the bank, because that's going to be 12,000 times 12 people. Okay, 144,000 in the bank. But remember, that's without gaining any interest yet. So that's just straight, money in the bank savings. Now, all banks will give you interest. The interest isn't very good, so you can get 0.01% interest, or you might get 0.1% interest. So the person responsible for banking, which we call the banker, you'll see the next slide, they need to try to find a holding account that works out best to hold this money. Okay. Method 2, instead of you putting that money in the bank, in the group, you all decide on an investment vehicle that you can lodge this money against. So for example, you might invest it in a mutual fund or an ETF of some sort. Okay, So each month, or you could wait to the end, but each month you take that 12,000 and you buy stock, in other words. Okay, and next month you do the same thing. That way, at the end of the time period, or if you leave it for a set time period, then you would have gained not interest but growth on your stocks, and as well as possibly dividends. And that's where you'll see a very quick and a large return, although at a higher risk than just saving it, you would see a higher return. For method one, by the way, you could use things like fixed term bond deposits. So you lock the money away for 5 years, but everyone needs to agree with it. You can get better interest rates on things like that, 2%, 3%, so on and so on. So method two, you would use that cash and invest it. Okay. Now method three is probably the most powerful, but it takes the most discipline and the most commitment. So you have to find the right people in order to do that. Okay. So method three is where you take that money and you use it as seed capital, for example, to purchase real estate. Okay. And you use that as seed capital to purchase real estate. However, to make it even more powerful, you not only take this money that you did the first round, so for the first year, okay, you would have saved 12,000 each times 12, which is 144,000. You combine that with another year. So let's say you do it 1 year, but then you say, you know what, let's hold off to the next year. And then you use that as collateral or seed capital, maybe to purchase an apartment, or to get a mortgage to develop a plot of land. I don't know, whatever, business, to start a business, whatever the group decides to do. Okay, and it has to be agreed upon, and things should be signed to protect each other. But whatever the groups contracted, whatever the groups decide to do, that's an even more powerful method. Or you could combine all three in some way. So you have that 144,000, you invest it over a period of 1 year while you're collecting another 144,000. Okay, and you can just keep going on for as many cycles as possible. Okay, this is why I said starting with $1,000 to me is much more powerful, because obviously if it was just 100, you just have 1,200 each, which is still good, but 1,000 really allows you to use that money, because at the end you're going to have 144,000 amongst 12 people. All right, so that's the basis of how you can get the family bank or group savings bank going. Okay, so why did I use WhatsApp? Well, it doesn't have to be used WhatsApp. Okay, you could use Google, you can use Outlook. There's all these sorts of teams, all sorts of organizational and communication platforms that you can use to organize yourself and communicate and report and all the different things. I've even seen some specialized apps for using for things like Susu and stuff like that. Okay, but this is how it would generally work. You would have somebody who we're going to call the chief banker, and they're the leader. So what attributes? They need to be very trustworthy. Okay, so you need to know that they're not going to do anything silly with the money. They need to be very organized, good communicators, and very good with numbers. They don't need to be, accountants, but they just need to be able to do some basic account keeping, budgeting, stuff like that, so they can communicate to the others in the groups what the the deposits have totaled to, and so on and so on. So underneath that, you have the group bankers. So the group bankers are the people that you choose to partner with. Now these people, they need to be committed people. I should have put on here, they need to be working or have some sort of guaranteed income. That's very important, because you don't want anyone messing up the program. And this is the way to protect yourself, that the money doesn't get used. So in a Susu, everyone gets the money every month. But in this way, in this program, the money would not get used until the end of the savings period. Okay, that way, if anyone defaults anything, everyone can get the money back. So here you have the group bankers, sorry, the members of the group, which we're going to call the group bankers, and they have to be committed. Okay, if not, it's not going to work. As well as very visionary, because they have to see the big picture. They're not dealing with instant gratification, they're dealing with delayed gratification. So the chief banker, they take the deposits and they put those deposits into rather, a savings or a money transfer vehicle like PayPal, which is easy to set up, or you can put it directly into a traditional bank, or he might just deposit it straight to an investment broker from the traditional bank. It doesn't really matter. It depends on what the objective is. So if it goes to the traditional bank, obviously you're going to get some interest payments on that deposits, and that interest payments, you can see the arrow going down, can be returned back to the group. Or if it goes to an investment broker to purchase some investments, some assets, some stocks and shares, then they will get I shouldn't use the word interest, but their stocks will grow, and they could get things like dividends and things like that, repayments back to them. Now, if you're just using as a family bank, the money can be held in the bank, okay, by the chief banker, and micro loans can be given back to the group banker. So let's say everyone's put in their $1,000, and you now have $144,000 in the bank, and someone says, you know what, I need $10,000 for a car. Okay, so they go to the banker, and the banker says someone in the group needs $10,000 for the car. We're going to charge them 2% interest or whatever, and you give them the $10,000, and they pay monthly depending on whatever terms you set up back to the group, but with interest, rather than paying that interest to a traditional finance company or a bank or stuff like that. Okay, so microloans, and the microloans could be used for whatever, or they just get a return on their, like we said, fixed term bonds or something like that. Or if they're really ambitious, the group banker with agreement's the key. The chief banker, with agreement from the group bankers, can then take that money, and the group can invest it in something like property or other assets. So this is just a basic sketch up of how it would work. The key is having people that are committed and visionary and not working towards instant gratification, but dealing with delayed gratification. So that's how it works. That's it. Okay. Pardon me. As we talked about, the principles of building economics is hugely, hugely important. Hence, in Kwanzaa Day, one of the key Ngozo Sabas, the number 4, is Ujuma, which means cooperative economics. And I talk about this in another book that I've written, Don't Block His Brilliance, a handbook of top 10 principles to empower the brilliance of boys of African descent. You can also get that book on Amazon. And I try to share that one of the key principles that we need to empower our boys with, but in general our children with, is this principle number 3, financial literacy and wealth building. It's only through building individual and family wealth that there's a spelling mistake, that those of African descent can truly become powerful as a collective people. Okay? If we truly want to become powerful, we need to master the idea of wealth building, the principles of wealth building, and we need to have good financial health and be very financially literate. And so this is just a technique, this group savings bank or family bank is a way that we can work within our communities like other communities do. Okay? They keep their money in their community, and you can go and look at the statistics which show how long does the dollar stay within certain communities. This has nothing to do with racism or anything. This is realism. The dollar stays within the African descended community, meaning the black community, for a very short time before it goes into the hands of other peoples. So this is one method, the group savings bank and family bank, by not only we can keep the money in our communities, but we can actually magnify and accelerate the financial power that we have by using the particular strategies that I discussed in this video. I thank you for tuning in. This is Dr. David Roots. Let's remember the principle, Ujamaa, which is cooperative economics. Okay. Another principle of Kwanzaa is Kujichagulia, which means self-determination. And those two go hand in hand. Okay. Do for self, as the great Honorable Marcus Garvey would say. Thank you for tuning in. Peace and love. Blessings, prosperity, and abundance to you and your family.